Growing a business is kind of tricky right now. Supply chains are squeezed, tariffs and trade policies are dynamic, and cash flow, it's tighter than ever. You need clarity to come out on top. Without it, you risk falling behind. If only you could hop in the DeLorean and see the future, right? Thankfully, there's NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite has real-time forecasting to help you move ahead with confidence. This is your AI-powered business management suite and the #1 cloud ERP. Trusted by over 42,000 businesses, NetSuite brings accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all under one roof. It's your single source of truth, giving you the data and control you need to move quickly. And with AI built in, you can automate the busy work and focus on strategy. NetSuite helps you see what's stuck, what it's costing you, and how to pivot fast. If I were running a business with a lot of moving parts, I'd use NetSuite for full control over everything. Tame the chaos with NetSuite. If your revenues are at least in 7 figures, download the free ebook, Navigating Global Trade, 3 Insights for Leaders at netsuite.com/SPI. That's netsuite.com/SPI. Congrats, your business is doing great. All your hard work is paying off, but you need help like now, and you have to hire fast. How can you hire amazing candidates quickly? Easy, just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. And with sponsored jobs, your posts jump to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach people you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. One of the things I love most about Indeed is that it has one of the largest databases of job seekers, giving employers access to a wide range of candidates. And with job alerts, I get notified when new candidates apply. And with Indeed sponsored jobs, there's no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, and you only pay for results. So how fast? Well, in the minute that I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/SmartPassive. Just go to Indeed.com/SmartPassive right now and support a show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/SmartPassive. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed, is all you need. The perfect product launch. It's the goal for every brand marketer. High heat, fast sellout, and fans posting recipes like trophies. What do Sydney Sweeney's soap drop, Taylor Swift's tickets, and your next launch have in common? Well, they're not bought, they're bragged about. Fanfare turns your drop into a moment. Fanfare cues real fans, blocks bots, and builds launch experiences worth screenshotting. Want hype without the heartbreak? Get Fanfare's 5-step hype drop playbook with our proven success formula and make your next launch unforgettable at fanfare.io/playbook. Again, fanfare.io/playbook. This is the Smart Passive Income Podcast with Pat Flynn, session number 65. That was dope.
Welcome to the Smart Passive Income Podcast, where it's all about working hard now so you can sit back and reap the benefits later. And now your host. His favorite flower is the one from Super Mario Brothers, Pat Flynn.
While DIY website tools are everywhere, most fall short on design and performance. Hit publish. Framer ships your site worldwide in seconds. No code, no compromises. Framer is a powerful, user-friendly platform that delivers developer-level results without writing a single line of code. Make your designs move and convert with Framer. Framer brings your site to life with powerful animations, dynamic content handling, and a design-first approach that helps your site stand out. Framer is the design-first, no-code website builder that lets anyone ship a production-ready site in minutes. Browse hundreds of pixel-perfect templates or even design something of your own on a totally blank canvas. Add bold animations like appear effects, text effects, scroll and looping animations, and much more in seconds. And it's free to start. The built-in AI handles the heavy lifting of generating starter layouts and can even translate your entire site to any language. On the back end, you'll get responsive breakpoints, built-in hosting, a flexible CMS, and privacy-friendly analytics. Ready to build a site that looks hand-coded without hiring a developer? Launch your site for free at framer.com and use code SPI to get your first month of pro on the house. That's framer.com, promo code SPI. Framer.com, promo code SPI. Rules and restrictions may apply. With running your own business, legal questions always come with the territory. Like, can I use this contract or agreement? What do I do if a client doesn't pay? Am I even structured the right way for taxes? Instead of Googling your way through legal landmines, imagine having a law firm ready to address your business's legal needs without the sticker shock. That's what you get with Legal Shield's small business plans. Legal Shield helps entrepreneurs access real legal help on contract reviews, collection letters, business formation guidance, and even help navigating IRS audits. Members can schedule consultations, upload documents through the app, and get support from a provider law firm that knows small business laws in your state. Plus, consultations on taxes or trademarks help you stay ahead of potential problems. And if a client is late on a payment, Legal Shield steps in with professional collection letters so you can protect your hard-earned revenue, all for a fraction of the price of hiring a lawyer on your own. Go to LegalShield.com/SPI or call 833-570-9980 to learn more and get big business legal support without a big business budget. That's LegalShield.com/SPI. Hey, what's up? This is Pat Flynn from SmartPassiveIncome.com and also now PatFlynn.me. If you haven't checked out my new personal site at PatFlynn.me, check it out. I actually tried to get PatFlynn.com. I've been trying for over a year now. Several emails to the owner. He's not budging, even after offering. Actually, I offered 5 figures for it, and he's still not budging. I guess it just wasn't meant to be. So, patflynn.me it is for now. Already getting off course here in this podcast episode, but I just want to say thank you for listening in. I am soaring over here. I'm super excited about today's podcast session with Greg Hickman from mobilemixed.com. Mobile marketing expert and a really good friend, actually. He's going to give us a ton of important information and actionable tips on how we should think about this sort of mobile movement that's going on right now. Everyone with their smartphones, checking emails or websites, using text messages, podcasting, videos, all on the go. I mean, it's crazy. And Greg is definitely the mobile expert in my eyes right now. Plus, he's just super cool and down to earth. But before we get to the interview, I just want to let you know, get ready for Niche Site Duel 2.0, NSD 2.0. A lot of you have heard me talk about the Niche Site Duel before. That's we'll call that one 1.0. If you don't know what that is, let me explain really quick. Excuse me. Back in August of 2010, I was challenged by a friend of mine to create a website from scratch, rank it in Google, and start earning an income from it. And we decided to share the experience and process publicly, and I did that on Smart Passive Income. You can actually go to nichesiteduel.com to see all those posts where I documented the process, and this is what became known as the Niche Site Duel. For a couple of months, I updated my blog readers on my progress until 73 days later, I hit #1 in Google, and my income, primarily from advertising on this particular website, which was interestingly enough in the security guard training industry, the income started to climb to about $1,500 per month, again through advertising. And since then, the site has generated a total since then of over $50,000. Again, you can look up security guard training in Google. It's probably still there at number one right now. That site is securityguardtraininghq.com, which is awesome, especially after having done that so long ago and only having to upkeep it maybe a couple hours a month now. Now, a lot has changed since Niche Site Duel 1.0. Google has updated a lot of their algorithm many times to, become more human-like, I guess they could say. So some of the strategies that I used to use to rank, those previous websites that I did aren't working quite as well as they used to. They still work to some degree, but not as consistently anymore. And you know what? That's okay. Why? Because I'm going to do the whole thing over again in a brand new niche site sort of challenge or Niche Site Duel with new content, new strategies, and hopefully a new income stream at the end of it. And this is, of course, going to help me because I'll have a new income stream, but it's there and it's free and it's going to be public to help you too, to be an example, to show you that it can be done today and also show you what to do and probably what not to do in some instances, because I do make mistakes. I'm not perfect. In the first go around, I made a bunch of mistakes, but I still got it to #1, and hopefully I'm going to do the same thing again. This is going to be awesome. So if you're down, like I'm down, be sure to subscribe to the podcast, the blog. Look out for any upcoming publications about Niche Site Duel 2.0 or NSD 2.0 for short. I'm currently in research mode. I'm interviewing experts who seem to know how to build and optimize websites in today's Google environment. And you may hear a few experts come on the podcast in the near future as well. So to see, again, the first Niche Site Duel and all of its related posts and see what you have to look forward to a second time around, head on over to nichesiteduel.com. nichesiteduel.com. Okay, so back to today's episode. and today's regularly scheduled program. I had mentioned at the tail end of the previous podcast session, in session number 64, which was all about podcasting and a re-recording of my presentation at Social Media Marketing World, that I'd have Greg Hickman from mobilemixed.com on the show to give us all of his knowledge and thoughts about everything that has to do with mobile. And I have to tell you, this is a very important, extremely important episode for anyone out there who has a website. You know, it's probably most of us. Now is the time to pay attention to how people view our sites and interact with us through their phones, on their tablets. You know, now is the time to do it before it's too late and we're playing catch up. You know, you don't want to play catch up. So thankful to have Greg Hickman on the show. So without further delay, let's all welcome our good friend Greg Hickman from mobilemix.com to the SPI podcast. Hey, what's up, Greg? Welcome to the Smart Passive Income Podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, buddy. It's a pleasure.
Dude, so you were probably the only person I know who is really just taking control of the mobile space online as far as providing information to people. And I think it's really important that people understand just how important mobile is for their business, whether they're a blogger or they're a small business or they're a startup or whatever. But before we get into mobile and what that means and sort of what we can do online with mobile, just tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got to this point.
Sure. Well, so I got started in mobile marketing in early 2005. So this is pre-iPhone. You know, the smartphones weren't out yet, really. And I was working for a small agency that represented a bunch of brands and professional sports teams, and got to work with the New York Jets, which was really difficult because I was a New York Giants fan. I'm still a New York Giants fan. So that was difficult, but it was a great experience working with the Jets, the Florida Marlins, a handful of other teams. And really at that time, it was a lot of text message based marketing and really just trying to understand how can we connect with our fans and audience, through the mobile phone. And through that, had done some consulting with small to medium-sized businesses, and really just felt like personally I wasn't really learning anymore. Mobile was, still very new to a lot of people, and there weren't a lot of sources to consume, a lot of content on what mobile meant, how can you use it to grow your business. And I started Mobile Mixed, where I went out and, it originally started as an interview-based show where I interviewed brands and agencies that were just doing cool things, with mobile for their clients or, within their own brands. And really just saw an opportunity to build my own business online, after following you for such a long time and, a handful of others. And no one has been talking about mobile, like you said. And, for people that are out there building online businesses, creating really engaging content that, in a lot of ways can change people's lives, you want to be able to connect with the largest audience possible. And with the way that we consume content now, from our phones in a lot of different ways, I felt like, talking to online business builders, mediapreneurs, if you will, on how to go mobile, to really, really better connect with their customers.
Yeah, cool, man. That's awesome. And I think you are in a perfect niche. And, you and I have talked before. You've given me some great advice, which we're going to get into in a little bit, about how to use my phone, especially like during live presentations and also on podcasts. Great stuff. I mean, I can't wait for everybody to listen to this. But I want to go back really quick. You said you were working for the Jets.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. And the Marlins. No offense to Jets fans, but just you were a Giants fan. But you were talking about connecting fans through mobile back then. How are you doing it back then?
Sure. So before, for sports fans, nowadays we get, score alerts and stuff like that from ESPN or from an ESPN app, and even text messages from ESPN. They do a lot with text messaging, even still to this day. But back then, the Jets grew a database. They had people out in the parking lots pregame, having people opt in, download ringtones and wallpapers when all of that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
So they had the New York Jets, like, Jets, 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 Jets. That was a chant that you could download as a ringtone, which was super obnoxious, but tons of people downloaded it, and you could download little, wallpapers for your screen. And So what they did with once people opted in, they'd send out, you could opt in to get score alerts at the end of every quarter, just at the half, or at the end of the game, in addition to exclusive team updates, who's going to be playing that day, were there injuries, kind of what's happening in the clubhouse. And this was, this is all essentially man powered. So, being the agency that represented them, we would get a phone call at, the oddest hours saying, hey, I can't even remember the quarterback's name at that time. They're like, he's not playing, he's injured. The number 2 quarterback's going to start. Like, tell our fans as soon as possible because we need to tell ESPN. So they would tell us first. We then schedule out these messages to their audience, get those out as fast as possible. So the kind of the insiders, the VIPs of the team, found out even before the most publicized news sources did. So it's kind of this, I'm almost in the locker room sort of thing. So,
That's
all
cool.
sorts of updates. Yeah. So, and without having, and there were mobile websites back then, they were called WAP sites, they were very, very text based. And we would link out to some of those where there was, some additional news, but primarily it was, we want to get this information out to our most loyal customers, and we want them to hear it from us first versus, a news source. So a lot of it was around that, and then the score stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know things have changed as far as what mobile's for, but it almost sounds like the way it's used is almost the same, talking about how it's for your most loyal fans and your customers. Do you feel that that's sort of where it's headed, and it's sort of like an insider thing you can give whatever to people through your mobile phones now?
Yeah, so I think yes and no. Yes, because it's the most personal connection you can probably have with anyone in your audience. Most of us carry our phone with us, 24/7, sleep within 3 feet of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's something like 87% of American adults sleep within 3 feet of their phone. I use my phone as an alarm. I'm not sure if you do. I know, I'm sure a lot of people do. So it's just one of the most personal devices that we have, and it's always in their pocket. It's always in the palm of their hand. Most people, there was some survey not too long ago that said, would you rather lose your phone or your wallet? And everyone was like, I'd rather lose my wallet. I don't want to. I'd rather not lose my phone.
That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, your credit cards and everything, your license, but no, I don't want to lose my phone. So I think in that regard, with how personal it is, the way that a lot of, at least, businesses today are trying to use it, or the ones that are, at least brands that are really successful with it, try to go above and beyond what you can get anywhere else when you connect with them, because it is so personal. So how can we extend value, add value, and maybe offer some exclusivity that can only be delivered via this device? So I think there's definitely benefits there, but with smartphones and podcasting, and how much of social is now mobile, it's almost table stakes in some ways. Like, your audience are going to be consuming your content from a phone, whether you like it or not, and or a tablet. We can talk about what mobile is in a little bit, but they're already choosing to connect with you in this way, whether you know it or not. So you kind of need to address that, but then how do you address that above and beyond that, where that exclusivity can come in? I think we'll take it to the next level.
Right. Okay. So you're saying there's sort of like 2 levels of mobile. One, just the fact that people are going to be consuming your content somehow in mobile because we're all on phones all the time now, and then sort of the second level, sort of exclusivity thing, maybe getting them text messages or MMS or SMS messages and stuff like that. So yeah. This is so huge, everybody. I'm so glad you're here kind of educating us about this. So let's just start from the beginning. What is mobile really? So I'm say I know a little bit about it, but say I have a website and someone's like, dude, you got to go mobile. What does that mean?
Well, first of all, it's a good question. A lot of people are still really trying to define that, but ultimately what it means is being able to connect with your audience using a mobile device or a mobile network. which could ultimately be like through a cell phone tower or Wi-Fi network or something like that. What enables us to connect our phones to the internet. So, however that manifests itself, again, whether it's a tower or Wi-Fi, it doesn't really matter. But using some sort of mobile device to create some sort of communication and connection with your audience. So, what does that ultimately mean outside of that sort of definition? There are a lot of different aspects to mobile, and I think that's why people get confused by it. I mean, when you talk about email, email only goes so deep. But when you talk about mobile, at the core, you have your website, which I know you always talk about. The web, your website, the blog is your home. It's your home base. You're always driving people back to that. So first and foremost, having that being mobile friendly is super important. But then you start extending out to other channels within mobile, like you had mentioned SMS, which is short message service or really just text messaging, and then MMS, which is multimedia messaging, which is sending pictures, video, audio, very similar to text messaging, slightly different technology, but from a consumer standpoint, it's pretty much all the same. Mobile optimized video, podcasts. I think people aren't considering how mobile friendly podcasts are, but I mean, people are listening to your podcast in the car while they're working out, while they're cooking, while they're walking around. They're not always necessarily at a desktop computer. So, audio, voice is very much mobile friendly. Your snippet app, Let Go. These new types of technology are most definitely mobile. I mean, I have it on my iPad. I can take it anywhere. I can consume that content no matter where I am. I don't need my full-on desktop to participate. You just launched, your Kindle book recently of Let Go, which is now #1. So congrats.
Thanks, man.
But I mean, e-readers can be considered mobile, and a lot of it is just that more and more we're going to be consuming content from a wide variety of screens, not and most definitely a wide variety of devices. But I'd rather people think about mobile as device agnostic, and more focused on screen resolution. So I mean, at some point we're gonna see screens on our refrigerators. I think there already are some out there, but like smart refrigerators that it knows what products you've taken out. Like, we're engaging with this type of technology, not necessarily in front of some sort of computer where we're stationary. So your in-car navigation could be considered mobile, and that's just another screen, another way that we can access internet. So all of these different ways, mobile search, the way people use their phone. Think about when you search. I mean, there's a lot of local intent when it comes to mobile search. I'm looking for a restaurant near me or something like that. But people use different keywords when they search. So depending on what your business is, if there is a local aspect to it, you might want to consider how I, as a mobile user, might even find you from my phone versus how I would find you from a desktop, just by using different keywords. So, and I think really kind of to wrap that thought up is that mobile is so ingrained in almost every aspect of our media consumption, in this day and age, that it that's why it gets hard for people to wrap their head around it, because it's really the one thread that connects all of our media consumption throughout the entire day. It's that one device that stays with us throughout the entire day. So if you're thinking about a particular, person who has a 9-to-5 job, they wake up possibly to their phone alarm. If you're like me, you probably grab your phone and you delete a handful of emails right away, just to like eliminate any sort of possible stress that you could have before you sit down at your desk.
Right.
Then maybe you get in your car and now you're listening to radio, or maybe internet radio or podcast. And then you get to your office where you're at a desk, stationary with a computer. Maybe you're not reaching for your phone as much. Go out to lunch, you're back on your phone. Back to the office, stationary. Commute home or happy hour or what have you, you're back on your mobile device or sitting in front of TV with your tablet, kind of tweeting stuff out while you're consuming some sort of show. So it really just does connect all of the different ways that we consume media today. So it touches everything, and I think that's why it makes it a little bit confusing for people.
Yeah, I mean, I think if everybody just spends a day thinking about how often they're on their phone or some other device, an iPad, whatever, Nexus, Samsung, whatever, I think you'd start to realize just how much we are actually on mobile now, and that is a good reason we should be paying attention to it from our brand's point of view. And just to give you some information here, everybody listening, and also you, Greg, I'm on my Google Analytics right now looking at the traffic from the last month. Over 210 visits, unique visits to the site. About 40,000 of them were on mobile, including a tablet. And the interesting fact about that is, that's like 20% of my visitors. But the interesting fact is that for the mobile visitors, they were on my site 30 seconds longer than people who are on the desktop.
And I think that's and you can interpret that a lot of different ways. But I think a lot of people now, and when I say a lot of people, like content that I'm reading about mobile usage behavior and stuff like that. First, as for all the listeners, don't get hung up on the fact that mobile means on the go, because it doesn't necessarily mean on the go. Some recent studies have actually completely disproven that, and a lot of mobile internet usage actually is happening from home, and happening from the couch, right from the living room, or maybe you're in the kitchen and you're cooking, you're looking at recipes or something like that. So don't just think that mobile means I'm out and about, I'm walking through a store and taking pictures of products and stuff like that, because that's not really the case. There's a lot of home usage, office usage of the mobile device. That's just how people really prefer to consume content these days. So I think that's a great example. I mean, they're spending more time from a mobile phone, smaller screen. They just prefer to do it that way. It's easier.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Now, what are the most important things that a blogger or an entrepreneur or small business owner should worry about? I mean, there's so many we just listed: website, text messaging, multimedia text messaging, video, podcasts, and e-readers. I mean, what if you had to choose one or two things that we should all be making sure? Like, if we don't do it, we're doing things wrong. Like, what are those things?
Sure. So, and I'm going to tell you one, and then I want to take a step back for a second. So at the core, the first thing any blogger, podcaster, mediapreneur, online business owner, even if you're a local business owner, the first thing you should do when it comes to being mobile friendly is mobilizing your website. And the reason I say that is because, for all of the SPI listeners out there, you constantly talk about being everywhere, right? So that's a core part of how you got to where you're at. A lot of people, have embraced that, and a lot of the SPI, the fanatics, if you will.
Yes.
We're all trying to connect with our audience in different ways, because not only do we know that our audience likes to have a variety of content, but we also know that there are different people in these different places. So you have probably a certain amount of fans and followers that you always connect with on Facebook and Twitter. And then there's probably people that you have that really only connect with you or prefer to connect with you on YouTube. And there's people that are on your email list, which you don't even send out that many emails compared to a lot of other online marketers that probably just are waiting, like so excited to get the next email from Pat Flynn. And, that's just how they prefer. Like, they don't always visit smartpassiveincome.com. They're waiting for that email for you to tell them, the latest and greatest news. So because of all, because we're everywhere, and because we're extending ourselves and kind of, have all these different outposts that, as you always tell everyone to do, is drive them back to your home base. You're creating more awareness of yourself in all these places, but all of those places are still driving back to your website. Mm-hmm. So making sure that content is mobile friendly is super important, because if you look at the kind of the core, the core areas of, your outposts, you talk about Facebook and Twitter. Over 60% of mobile usage from Facebook and Twitter is coming from a mobile device. 60%.
Wow.
So even if you're, I'm just going to focus on social this year, I don't need to worry about mobile. You have to worry about mobile, because most of the people that are connecting with you on those platforms are doing so from a mobile phone. So, if you say, hey guys, check out my latest blog post on Facebook, and that links back to your site, and it's not mobile friendly, and 60% of those people are on their mobile phone, they're going to get a poor experience. So obviously you don't want to do that. So that's important. Over 25% of global YouTube views are from a mobile device. I bet you if you looked at your YouTube channel analytics, you'd probably find similar statistics on how many people are actually consuming your videos from a mobile device, whether that's from your website where they're pinching and zooming to watch the embedded video, or it's the YouTube app or the YouTube mobile website. So that there's another outpost where so much of the usage is coming from a mobile device. And lastly, although you don't use email the way that a lot of other online marketers do, right now, I mean, kind of depending on who you're talking to, 41% of all email opens are coming from a mobile device, and it's supposed to surpass a desktop, I think, in like 2014.
Wow.
So, and if you were, depending on your email provider, you could probably find out some statistics on how many people are opening, your email from a mobile phone. But that scenario we talked about earlier where, I wake up, I grab my phone and I delete, as many emails as possible, just to kind of eliminate some stress. Cause, I sign up for however many newsletters. It's overwhelming. You just kind of hit that edit button if you have an iPhone, and you click as many circles on that left side of that phone as you can find, and you just delete all of them. And you probably don't consume, you don't really read the subject lines. You just see, the sender, and you're just like, nope, I don't need to deal with that today. And you get on with your day. So if email is a big part of your business, and as a lot of online marketers, the money's in the list. Well, if you have 10,000 people and 40% of them, are opening it from their phone, who cares if you grow another 10,000 people? You're missing out on a very good percentage of your list right there that you're not even capitalizing on. So and again, all that drives traffic back to your site too. So that's kind of why I say, even if you only do one thing this year, having a mobile optimized site, you'll at least be giving all of your audience and your customers content in a way that they prefer to consume it.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And now that you mention it, I mean, I know I could do a better job because I am everywhere. I'm actually looking at my YouTube statistics right now, and it tells me from mobile devices about 14% of my audience, which,
Okay.
If you look at this is almost 10,000 people this past month who are watching on their mobile devices. And yes, I typically give a call to action to either subscribe or go somewhere on my website.
Right.
And I'm not creating continuity in the mobile experience, which obviously YouTube on mobile, I mean, they're optimized for mobile, but is my site not right now, which is why having my website be mobile friendly when my redesign comes out later this year is going to be one of the top sort of priorities. Now, help us define a little bit what mobile friendly means. I think some people, and I've actually talked to some people about this, I've been like, hey, why don't you, have you ever thought about, making your site mobile friendly? And their response is, well, most people are on their iPhone, and the Safari on iPhone, looks pretty mobile friendly. They just have to pinch and zoom and stuff, and that's good enough. Is it? I mean, what is mobile friendly really mean? I mean, is there a definition of that?
Yeah. So actually, this kind of even goes into one of the topics that we said we were going to talk about, which is the hierarchy of mobile user needs. If you want to dive into that,
let's do it.
You want to? Okay. So if you kind of look at, this is not original content. Like this is from some mobile strategists that I actually follow. A guy by the name of Brad Frost. He's a thought leader in the responsive design community. He's been a guest on my podcast.
What is responsive design, just for everyone out there?
So responsive design is essentially, and depending on who you talk to, it might be slightly different definition, but it's essentially the concept of using media queries, which is a modern web technology that will kind of identify what screen resolution is accessing your site, and then based on that, you can define certain breakpoints to optimize that screen real estate. So if you look at a really good example is thinktraffic.net, Corbett Barr, who you obviously SPI fans pretty much know about. If you go to that site from your desktop computer and you take your mouse and you bring it down to the bottom right corner of the site and drag it inward, you'll notice that they have essentially 3 breakpoints. One being the full width desktop. Then you'll see kind of halfway in, it'll break again. And by break, I mean, you'll see some of the navigation. Maybe it'll be 2 levels of navigation. Things start to get a little bit more centered, and you drag it a little bit more, sort of a width of a smartphone. You'll see, the navigation, text starts optimizing for the resolution. More layers. Columns that were on the right are now tucked underneath, and it's all one single column. That's essentially responsive design. It's one set of code that uses these media queries to determine when to adjust the screen layout based on that resolution.
Right,
so
right.
That's kind of at its simplest.
Patflynn.me is actually responsive now too, which is pretty cool.
Yes, it is, and that is a great example. Shame on me.
No, dude.
Patflynn.me is a great example, actually, and we were just talking about it. And yeah, so.
But I'm just sharing that because I want people to see another example. And basically, I mean, my feeling is this. My definition would be, it just looks good on whatever device it's being looked at on.
Yeah, and that's actually a great point. And I know we're slightly diverting, but I'll get back to mobile friendly. Your audience doesn't care if your site's responsive. All they care about is they're not going to be like, oh, Pat Flynn's using responsive. I mean, some of the geekier people,
right.
That like to nerd out on that stuff, like me, will get excited about it. But at the end of the day, they just want to be able to consume your content from the mobile phone, and it needs to be mobile friendly. And by mobile friendly, that doesn't mean pinching and zooming. If you're making it complicated for your user to access your site, that's not friendly. So there's kind of the notion of mobile optimized, mobile friendly. I think they're pretty much both the same thing. You want to make the experience as painless as possible. And when you look at that hierarchy of user needs that I was about to talk about, so if you look at, imagine a pyramid. At the foundation of the pyramid, you have access. Access basically means give your audience what they want. They need to be able to access what they want. So if Pat Flynn's on his site, saying, hey, click this link for the latest tutorial on how to get started podcasting, and I click that link, I expect to get the latest tutorial on podcasting. And if I don't, I'm disappointed. So I need to be able to access what you're telling me I can access, however I want to access it. So at the core foundation, and again, so having that mobile-friendly site, again, being that first thing you should be doing, you're giving your audience the ability to access your content. As you move up the pyramid to the next level, you have interaction. In most cases, this really breaks itself down or manifests itself as navigation, navigational elements. So traditionally, most blogs will have, you have your navigational elements right across the top, and a lot of us have some sort of navigation in the side panel. So you frequently talk about, I think it's 19% of people that find Smart Passive Income find out about you because of the podcast. So say you mention the link to your show notes,
Yep.
and I'm on my phone and I go into the, I just type in the URL that you mentioned because you use pretty links and it's super short and easy to remember. I go there. My first experience with Pat Flynn is, within that specific piece of content. I may not know all about you. I may have caught you on your latest episode. So naturally, I'm like, oh, sweet, this content is awesome. Who is this guy? If I can't find the about page easily, which again is how can I find that about page? How can I click through to find out more about this person, or maybe sign up for the email? If I can't do that easily, you're not letting me interact with you anymore. So great, I've accessed the content, it's friendly, but if navigation is all janky, then it's gonna be harder for me as a user to get more of what I want. And the reason that kind of manifests itself in navigation is really because this is how you get around the site. But if you use like WordPress plugins, you'll hear some people say use a plugin called WP Touch, which is great. It's free. It will make your blog mobile friendly, not your entire site. But if you actually look at a site that has that, you'll find that the navigation is not super intuitive. through this plugin, it's not very easy to navigate the site. And again, you can't really navigate throughout the entire site. It's really just confined to the blog. So
Right.
that next level up, you want interaction. Then the third level is performance. And this is really overlooked a lot. And responsive design um, is helping in some ways, but also not helping performance in others. So if you are going the route of responsive design, I would definitely do tests on your site to see how long it takes it to load on a mobile phone.
Mhm.
And mainly because statistically, there was a study, I think it was by Google not too long ago, on their How to Go Mobile kind of site, talks about we expect users expect mobile sites to load within 5 seconds. And if they don't, the odds of them leaving, I think it's something like 75% of people will leave if the site takes longer than 5 seconds to load.
Wow.
So, okay, my site needs to be fast. I get that. But where that really creates the impact is that if that's the first time someone is trying to connect with you from their mobile device, Google, I believe it's Google, it might be a provider named Gomez also. I always confuse these two. Um, they did a study where if a user tries to get to your site and it's not easily accessible from a mobile phone, 47% chance they will never come back to your site again. That's almost a 50% chance. So if it is the first time that they're connecting with you or any of us, and it's a painful experience, and they don't really fully define what that painful experience is, but I'm gonna go as far as saying, one, the site's not mobile friendly. Two, it takes really long to load. I can't find my way around, the content. Maybe for some reason I was using a Flash player. And for your listeners, Flash doesn't play nice with iOS, so iPhones, iPads. So if you're using some sort of Flash video or Flash player, that's just going to be broken. So if you're driving them to a page with a video and you're using a Flash player and it just shows as a broken image, and there's a really good chance that they're never going to come back to your site because they've lost trust, in you being able to provide a mobile friendly experience. So, again, with being everywhere, you're more likely to connect with new people. You're more likely to be driving awareness to yourself from new users, not just, returning users that you could be driving people away if you don't have this mobile friendly site. And then the last one of the pyramid, so you have access, interaction, performance, and the last one's enhancement. And really what enhancement means is that mobile browsers are different than desktop browsers, period. And because they're different, you can access different aspects of your phone that you can't access from a desktop browser. So you may have visited a mobile website or a site where it said, "Can we use your location?"
Mm-hmm.
Most people have probably had this happen. If you click OK, that website can now dictate what experience that person gets based on their location. And things like, some people that maybe have or are selling physical products, and I'm going to try to buy one of your products, and I'm going to enter my shipping, my shipping information. When I click on a form field that, is a zip code, obviously zip codes are numbers. Because I'm on a mobile device, I can actually within that field tell the site to pull up the number keypad versus the alphanumeric keypad, which if you've ever had to type in zip codes or information using the alphanumeric keypad, you got to click the number button.
Yeah.
And you have all the numbers across the top. So it's just like little things like that, because the mobile browsers are different, that you can capitalize on enhancing that experience for the user, which comes at the top.
Man, that's pretty cool. I mean, it seems like there's so much that we could do as someone doing business online or blogging or creating content online. What would you say would be the first steps? I mean, okay, I'm a blogger. I want to get my site mobilized. What do I do? Where do I go?
Sure. So right now, there are so many, a lot of us as bloggers, we're on WordPress. We use, some sort of theme. There are plenty of responsive themes out there that will very quickly get you to kind of the foundational aspects of, you know, your content's now adjusting based on what screen size the audience is on.
Mhm.
So I would say look into any source. You know, Theme Forest is a popular one. Just do a search within Theme Forest for responsive WordPress themes. Woo Themes has a handful also, and then I actually am on the Genesis framework. I believe you're on the Thesis framework. Both now offer responsive solutions. The Genesis framework is by the folks over at Copyblogger. They have a site called Studio Press, which most of their themes are now responsive. So, you know, any one of those themes, you know, you purchase one of those, 35 to 75 bucks, whatever, you know, you're in the game getting started. I wouldn't say that it ends there, but for a starting point, you shouldn't think that you need to go find a custom or a specialized web designer. You can, you know, if you have the budget to get someone to create a custom theme, you know, you definitely want to differentiate yourself. I mean, that comes down to a branding play. But if you're really just looking to have a mobile friendly experience, you're already using WordPress, you know, go to one of those three sources and look to purchase a responsive theme.
Yeah, I wanted to point out a theme that I thought was pretty cool. I think it's called Get Noticed, which is a theme that is being used on michaelhyatt.com right now, and it is mobile responsive too. So that's another one to check out that I just discovered. I believe John Saddington, who we had on episode 61, actually created that.
Nice.
And you know, if you go to michaelhyatt.com on a mobile device, it looks really cool. It's you see the first post at the top, you know, underneath his logo. There's a little thing you click on the right-hand side, which pulls up a menu that says "Connect with me," and it says "Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, so on and so forth." Under that, it has the menu where, you know, you can navigate through his site, the different categories, which is really interesting. This was custom built, so, but I think you can download it through michaelhyatt.com. And underneath the first post is something you see on the sidebar of his desktop, which is pretty cool how it's rearranged like that. And that's to sign up for his free ebook, and then the second post under that. I mean, it's really cool. I mean, there's so many things you could do. I'm working with someone right now to do a custom responsive theme for Smart Passive Income. That's how it was done for patflynn.me. I know Theme Forest and Woo Themes has stuff going on right now for that too. So I think that's definitely where I would start. I heard about the WP Touch plugin too, which doesn't it works, you know, and it makes it easy to read the content, but it doesn't, you know, it's pretty generic looking, and it just looks like a menu of posts, and that's it. There's no there's no way to brand it really or expand out of that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, if you're blogging just for, you know, and everyone's in it for a different reason, right? I mean, a lot of your audience is probably trying to, you know, turn it into a business, monetize the site, where I would think, you know, you want to make sure that the entire site is mobile friendly. But if you're just maintaining a blog for personal reasons or for your family, you know, WP Touch is free. And really, if your whole site is just the blog, you know, it's definitely something that you can use. It's super easy to implement. That, you know, it's just a very, very quick way to get started. But, you know, as you become more serious, you know, like a lot of the SPI listeners and readers, and, you know, you really try to turn the audience into customers at some point in some way, shape, or form, you know, you want the whole site to be mobile friendly.
Right. Awesome. Okay, so that's preparing for people who are coming to our site. What if they're on our site, or we're somewhere and we want people to take action, and they just happen to be taking action on their phone? Is there a great way to convert people into our list using mobile and have people take action? I know you're doing some cool, interesting things with text messaging now.
Right. Yeah. So again, I think one key thing to mention, or at least that I like to talk to, is that when you start thinking about mobile or mobility, it's a lot of it comes down to a mindset. So, you know, in your podcast, or, you know, if you listen to my podcast, I now have a call to action that is clearly stating that my landing pages are mobile friendly, and then that you can text in a keyword to a short code to get a short video from me that's delivered right to your phone, that has a link then again that takes you to that landing page. You know, if they're already on your site though, a lot of us, we're taught to use lead pages, landing pages, sales pages, pages that are very specific to trying to convert the user to take an action. So if that is you and your business, you want to make sure that those are mobile friendly. And there's some sort of tips and tricks. I'll name a few here that you can look to use when creating mobile landing pages that will convert. And I was a guest post that I just wrote. I think it goes live sometime this coming week, or by the time this goes live, I think it'll be last week. But where you kind of creating the content, making all of your blog posts, all of your tutorials, you're letting your audience consume that. But when you want to turn your site into a business, you need to have that call to action. And again, that just takes place on landing pages. So one thing, think about holding your phone. A lot of times we're dealing with someone who is only paying attention to our site using one eye and one thumb. So when you have links, you want to make sure that if it's a key link on, sign up here, click this link to go here and pay, or what have you, that you don't want anything else crowded around that link. You want to make it very easy for someone's thumb to click that. And ideally, you'd make it a button. And, mobile standard best practices would be, it should be at least 44 pixels by 44 pixels. That's kind of been identified as the key thumb to touch ratio for a button. So 44 by 44 pixels is super key on that. When it comes to people converting on a mobile landing page, again, because they are maybe using one eye or one thumb or what have you, they might, and this is not everybody, and this is something you're going to have to test, but typically you see with online marketers, super long, really in-depth landing pages, tons of bullets, tons of calls to action. Mobile users are not going to read a 5,000 word landing page. Some of them will. Flanatics probably will. But for some of us, seriously though, and actually that's an advantage that I think online marketers have compared to brands. We can create such passionate audiences that they'll wait more than 5 seconds for our site to load. They'll deal with our non-mobile friendly site probably a little bit longer than they would if it was, say, Target. But that doesn't mean you should take advantage of it. So making sure that the call to action is as clear and as early on that landing page as possible is going to be critical in converting people from a mobile phone. So you see a lot of online marketers, you continue to read, who's this product for, who's this product not for, check out this video real fast, here are these 5 bullets of all these cool things you're going to get out of this, here are the 10 bonuses you're going to get. I might never even get to any of that stuff because I just got there from a mobile phone and I want to see, what is this thing, do I want it, and can you sell me in such a short amount of time at the top of the page, above the fold, that I'm going to convert. So when it comes to, do you want first name, last name, email, phone number, all this information, try to limit that as much as you can. So, if you can just get away with using email for sign up, that gives you a better chance, less typing that user has to use. So right. Have a clear call to action, have it very early on in the page, ideally above the fold. Make sure your buttons and or links are very, very easily clickable, tappable with a thumb. So you could even test this on your own phone, and I highly recommend that you do. And then limit the amount of information that needs to be entered in order to subscribe or register for the webinar or purchase the product.
Love it. It sort of reminds me, I had a chat with one of the owners of Gumroad, GUMROAD.com, which is a sort of, a lot of you have heard me talk about eJunkie before, which is how I sold and am still selling my ebook at greenexamacademy.com. But I sat down, actually Caleb Wojcik was there and co-founder of Gumroad. He was talking about how they've tested and have created such a user-friendly customer friendly user experience when it comes to making purchases online using this tool, which is like an eJunkie competitor. So you imagine going to a site and purchasing an ebook, for example. Right on that same page, a little pop-up shows up, and all they have to do is enter their name and the credit card number, and that's it. And that completes the transaction, as opposed to eJunkie, which currently, I mean, they could be working on something, but I have to enter my name, the billing address, phone number, shipping like all this stuff. And the less amount of typing I have to do, the more likely I am to follow through. So.
Totally, and I'm actually going to be using them as well. And I've been looking for again, we're trying to create content that can be downloaded, ebooks. You obviously teach us how to do that. A lot of people are trying to do coaching and whatnot. A lot of these membership sites and plugins and tools that are out there aren't mobile enabling these checkout experiences, and that's the critical part. You got this person so ready to purchase and work with you or consider or buy that ebook, and now I can't even simply pay you. Like if I coming out of that podcast, if you just tell me to go to a landing page, spend $10 to get this awesome ebook that you just totally sold me on in this episode, and it's a pain in the butt to enter that credit card information, I might never come back and get it. You just could have lost that sale. So yeah, Gumroad's awesome. Did you ever have Nathan Barry on the show?
No, but I want to get him on the show because he's been killing it with Gumroad.
Yeah, I don't. You can probably find the link to his page where he has the checkout with Gumroad.
Yeah, I'll put it on the show notes.
Yeah, but that's a really, really sleek execution, and I mean it wasn't even that hard to implement. I mean he designed a nice page and he used Gumroad, and that was pretty much it. But it's just so sleek from an iPhone, from an iPad, desktop, super easy. So yeah, that's a great call right there.
And I think Gumroad, they do have a little higher fee. I think it's like 5% per sale, but
yeah,
you're trading that for a really easy user experience. So you kind of have to test and maybe just understand that you're going to have more people purchasing because of the way it works. And again, I still have yet to experience it myself because I have yet to use Gumroad, but it is something that I want to test, and it sounds like you're excited about them too.
I'm totally excited about it. I haven't seen anyone else make it so easy to purchase from a mobile phone, at least from the online e-commerce providers that you frequently hear, depending on which blog you read.
Right. Now let's talk a little bit about text messaging, because
yes.
And I talked about this in last week's episode, and I'm saying this way in the past. So if the right episode comes out after the next episode and so on and so forth, the previous episode that just came out would have talked about this tip that you gave me, which was so awesome because, okay, so this is what happened, everybody. So Greg sent me an email, or no, he sent me a text message. He's like, okay, text 5858. No, text, God, was it?
Mixed,
mixed. So text that to the number 585858 and
585858.
Yeah, 585858, right?
585858.
Yeah, it's the same thing as 585858.
Same thing. I'm just
okay, nobody's going to do this anymore because we totally part of being mobile friendly is just making it easy, and we totally just screwed up.
Yeah, we just totally made it complicated. But very simply, open up your text messaging application, text the word mixed, MIXED, to the number 585858, and you'll get a short video right to your phone with a link that takes you to a mobile optimized landing page, where you could sign up for my email newsletter. But you'll get a feeling for, this is an MMS message. And you can go back to your story because you were using this in a presentation, right?
Yeah, I did this in a presentation, and at the very end, I said, if you like my presentation, text Pat to 585858, and they would go through the same process. They would immediately get a message back from me that I had predetermined, which includes a video, about 30 seconds, just thanking them for watching the presentation, and also a call to action at the end of the video, and with the text to click on the bit.ly link below that, which takes them to a page on my site, which was not mobile friendly yet, unfortunately. So again, I'm still working on that, but you're doing it right. So if you want to check out how that works, text mixed to 585-858, and it's the same thing. And you can kind of see how that works. Now, tell everybody how you do that, because I think it's really cool, and how they might be able to test it out for themselves. And I think they could do it for free for a little bit, right?
Yeah, so there's a company by the name of MoGreet, and they just came out. They've been working with a lot of big brands. James Citron, the CEO, is a good friend of mine who's been on my show now twice, and they started working with a lot of big brands using text message marketing and MMS, where you can have videos or audio and pictures, be sent very much just like a text message. The experience you just explained, and they just came out with their what they're calling their Express product line, very focused on small business owners. The same kind of pricing models as an email service provider like an Aweber that you might be using. It's a monthly fee based on your list size, or sorry, not your list size, the number of messages you're sending. So super, super easy and intuitive platform. I really think, and the way that you use it, a lot of people, depending on your business, you can use it in different ways. I think speakers and authors, where you're in a physical location, in an offline environment, is a great opportunity to bring people online.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you said. So I don't know how many people texted in or whatnot. I mean, I'm sure a handful
Quite
did.
a few, like I think nearly 100.
Yeah. So I mean, depending on the room that you're in, you could get a lot of people to opt in, and you just delivered an amazing presentation, as you always do. So first, make sure you always deliver an amazing presentation. That's the important
Or
part.
else nobody's going
But
to text.
Right. But, they just, some of them might be new to you. Other people will just like, oh, wow, Pat's just did this new thing. I got to see what this is all about. And they text in, and, now you've taken this offline experience and you've brought it online, and, you've delivered something that's new and unique, most likely that your competitors are not using. And you have the ability to bring them to that mobile friendly site, which you would have already done, because we just talked to you about doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd be able to convert into your email list or another product, and you can even follow up with them now by sending them more video messages or text messages right to their phone. So definitely a powerful technology. And if you're a blogger where your audience might actually be an older demographic, granted, if your audience is like 55 or 65, maybe they're just coming for some sort of health related content or whatnot, but totally stereotyping right now, but they might not have a smartphone yet, and they are the fastest growing demographic of people that are purchasing tablets and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean they're going to use all of the fancy features. And my dad's a perfect example. My dad's 65 years old, never uses his desktop anymore, uses his iPad, but doesn't use any of the crazy apps that you can get on an iPad. He just emails like a madman. And he just got an iPhone, which he hardly ever keeps on, except when he text messages me pictures of my niece. And now, like, I actually connect with my father way better than I ever have, just because of text messaging. And just because you have the smartphone, just because you can download all of these cool fancy apps, doesn't mean your customer or your audience is actually going to. So identifying who your audience is, are they someone that might have not have a smartphone? SMS is something that nearly 100% of phones on the market are capable of doing. So it offers the widest reach, and those messages typically are read within 4 minutes, 98% of the time.
That's crazy. That
Yeah,
is crazy. But you have to be careful, right? Because
yes, exactly.
For me personally, I don't want to get too many text messages. I'd rather, I get 300 plus emails a day. I don't want to get 300 text messages a day.
Exactly.
It's a little bit more personal, and because of that, it's more powerful, but also it might be easy to get annoyed.
Right. And I mean, the first thing to know is that just like email, SMS, and MMS marketing is an opt-in, permission-based marketing channel. They need to text in order to be on that list. And kind of going back to that, the exclusivity, if you're sending out an email, you don't want to send out a text message with the exact same content. So think about don't just use it because you can. Use it and try to take advantage of that immediacy. A great thing for you, I think, would be outside of your texting, and we'll talk about podcast implementation here in a second. But when we were at New Media Expo, when we first met, when you had that the meetup, there were, I believe at some point you didn't know exactly where it was going to be. You wanted to let people know. I mean, you actively promote where that you're going to be having a meetup and whatnot, that you could literally build these little small lists of the people that are planning on attending, just to let them know, hey, last minute the venue totally canceled on us. We need to go to this new place. And you could send that text message and let them know, hey, now we're meeting here. Something like that. I came to the conference pretty much to meet you. So if I was coming to that meetup and that was the first time I was going to have an opportunity to meet you, and it, now all of a sudden the place I was thinking it was going to be, no one was there. If I could get a text message that's like, hey guys, sorry, we're here now. What a great way to immediately notify every single person that was planning on attending that that the location has changed. So just thinking about the implementation of it, and don't spam people. Typically, you don't really want to send more than one message a week. If you're doing some sort of daily health tip or daily exercise, and that's clearly communicated when the person opts in, then that's fine. But you got to create those, manage those expectations.
Awesome. Love it. Now, we just hit the hour mark, Greg. I mean, I feel like we could talk about all this stuff forever, because I
want to mention one more thing, though.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, is there what's one thing we missed that we should have covered?
Well, so we mentioned that email is really important, but I wanted to give your audience a couple tips on just a few things you could do quickly to make your email more mobile friendly.
Perfect.
So a couple things really fast. Very similar to landing pages, you want to make sure your call to action is very early on in the email. But if you look at your phone, you'll notice that your subject line actually comes on most devices after the sender. So on most email applications on your computer, the sender is off to the left, the subject line is real big on the right. The size of the text of the email sender is now actually bigger on your phone than the subject line. So take that into consideration if you're using some funky news at your domain name. Make sure that your name is very, very clear as the sender.
Cool.
And you'll notice that the subject line, depending on the words you use, will get truncated after 5 to 7 words tops almost every single time. So as you start writing your email subject lines, make sure that you're convincing that person within 5 to 7 words, or enticing that person to open the email, because they understand what that email is about to deliver within those 5 to 7 words. If it gets truncated and you haven't really clearly told me what this is about, it's way more likely to get deleted. So that's one major one. No technology. You don't need any technology for this. It really is just think about how it's going to be presented on a person's phone, and there's no responsive subject line, so it really is make sure that your subject line is clear in 5 to 7 words.
Great tip.
And then I'll stop there.
Okay, I got another one. If you're gonna have a call to action, just based on I'm just thinking out loud based on stuff you said earlier in your email. When you have a link, you want to have that isolated. Will that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So that means if you're going to have a link, put it on its own line, space out the paragraph above it, then paragraph below it, so that when people click with their thumbs, and I got a really fat thumb. I actually hate my thumbs because they're way too big.
People call it fat fingering.
Yeah, but no, I literally have, the nail is wider than it is taller. It's like someone took a hammer. Anyway, there's just a certain percentage of people that have that, and I'm one of them. And I should probably post a picture of my thumb
in the show notes. Put it in the show notes.
No, dude, I don't. If anyone wants to see my thumbs in the future, and you are at a meetup or something, I'll show them to you. But yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. But anyway, yeah. So that's something I think would be smart too, and that I'm definitely going to pay attention to. I think I do that already, just because I want my links to be isolated in the email so they're clear. And they're on their own line, but I think that's a good tip for everybody too.
Yeah. Agreed. And you do a very good job of that. At least the target. Sometimes you have multiple links. Not very often you don't, but sometimes other people do. The one that you want, like the primary action, make sure that has some space around it.
Word. Dude, man, this has been an incredible educational podcast. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm sure maybe we can get you back on in the future when things keep changing, because they will. But definitely, if we're not utilizing mobile like we talked about, we're definitely missing out, and we're not giving our customers the best experience as possible. Because our customers, our readers, our subscribers, our viewers, our listeners, our sites are there to serve them. And if our sites aren't mobile, then we're not doing everything we can. So where can we find out more about you, Greg?
You can find me at mobilemixed.com. That's MIXED. And I created a little something special for all of your readers and listeners. So you can go to mobilemixed.com/SPI, and you can get a free video on how to mobilize your Be Everywhere strategy. And
sweet.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at.
I hope that's a mobile-friendly page.
It will be a mobile-friendly page for sure.
All right, man. Thanks so much. If people want to just say thanks on Twitter, where can they go?
It's at GJ Hickman, HICKMAN. And you can even email me if you want at greg@mobilemix.com.
Cool. At GJ Hickman.
Yep.
Cool, man. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Take care, buddy.
You too.
All right. Now that was a podcast episode jam-packed with awesome content. Thank you so much, Greg. What I love about Greg is that even though mobile's still sort of young in the space that we're all in right now, blogging and internet marketing, Greg knows how popular it should be, how popular it's going to be. And although his blog hasn't really sort of skyrocketed yet, I mean, it's going to. I can just tell. I mean, Greg knows his stuff, so he's got big things coming. Look out for Greg Hickman, people, in the upcoming months or years. Greg, thanks again for your time. If you're listening to this, which I know you are, and for those of you listening, if you're out there and you've loved the show today, give Greg a shout out on Twitter. His Twitter handle is at GJ Hickman. Give him some love, and to all you out there, thank you so much for your support. Episode 65 is a wrap. We're at 804. 804. That's awesome. 804 5-star reviews on iTunes. I would love to get to 1,000 by the end of the year. I would love for you to help me make that happen. And be sure to get the show notes where you can get all the links, all the items mentioned in this show. You can get the show notes at smartpassiveincome.com/session65. And there you will also see a link where you can leave a voicemail for me. I will get it directly in my inbox. If you have a comment or a question, I'd love to feature you on the podcast. That comes in the form of an MP3, which I can then drop into the podcast anywhere I'd like. And in each episode from this point forward, if there are any available questions or nice comments, I'll share one or two voicemails during the show and leave a link back to your website on the show notes if you have a website. Sound good? Awesome. Thanks again. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Be safe, and I'll leave you with this one very last question as you go off and do whatever it is that you're going to do. Whose life are you going to add value to today? Peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Smart Passive Income Podcast at www.smartpassiveincome.com.
Hey there, quick pause here because I have to tell you about a tool that completely transforms the podcasting workflow, Riverside. I get it. I used to juggle multiple platforms just to record one podcast episode. It was exhausting. Zoom for recording, Audacity for editing, and then a bunch of different apps just to create clips and social posts. I've tried other ones as well. They were okay, but they were clunky and super time-consuming. That's where Riverside has massively helped. I can do it all in one place: recording, editing, repurposing, one platform, one streamlined flow. I just log in, record with my guests no matter where they are in the world, and just like that, studio quality audio and high resolution video all in one. And get this, even if your Wi-Fi glitches, Riverside records locally on your device so everything sounds and looks crystal clear. But here's my favorite feature: Riverside's AI editing tool. You can remove silences and filler words with just one click. Hours saved. With Magic Clips, Riverside also automatically finds the best moments and turns them into ready-to-post videos for YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram, all without the extra editing. So if you're looking to level up your production quality and simplify your workflow, go to smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside and use code SMART to get 1 month free on the Pro plan. That's smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside, promo code SMART. It's built by creators for creators, and I think you're going to love it. More people dream about building their own business and being their own boss rather than retiring early. But a majority of them never even take the first steps to register the business. Why? Because starting a business can feel overwhelming. With legal forms, paperwork, finances, it's a lot. And that's where Taylor Brands comes in. Taylor is a complete business builder designed to make launching your business simple and stress-free. You can register your LLC in just minutes, keeping your personal and business assets separate from day one. And from there, you can get access to everything you need to get off the ground, from legal documents, licenses and permits, invoicing and bookkeeping tools, and even a 100-day business coaching program to help you hit the ground running. You'll also get a free personalized business plan, branding tools, and so much more. And of course, our listeners get an exclusive 35% discount to get started. Just head to taylorbrands.com/SPI. That's TAILORBRANDS.com/SPI. Stop dreaming, start building with Taylor Brands.